somebody that you would never expect in this discussion, Edgar Allan Poe.
Cool.
Now, Edgar Allan Poe, as you know, Edgar Allan Poe is someone who was a man of letters. He was a great literary light in his time.
A Baltimore
but he's also
native.
known a Baltimore native, yes. By the way, who's also infamous for being a horrendous drunk. But when he did not, he had great times of sobriety. And when I began to read, and I grew up loving Edgar Allan Poe, and I always thought that there was more to this man than mysteries and poems, which were all amazing. And
show everybody your T-shirt.
Oh well, yes, I didn't even think about
Right?
that. I'll have to point if they can see it here. It says the Raven, which actually in this instance has nothing to do with Edgar Allan Poe. It has to do with the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay, but it's still Edgar Allan Poe's most famous poem.
It is. It's the poem that made him a superstar. But so why do I bring him up? Why do I bring him up? And here's the reason. Yeah, because when people talk about the Big Bang, it's a fairly, in terms of knowledge and science, it's a fairly recent development. And it basically appeared in the 30s. And a lot of people don't realize that it was a Catholic priest that is given credit for coming up with the concept of the Big Bang. And of course, the Big Bang is, if you have an open mind to the scientific view of the world at all, and you read the beginning verses of Torah, you'll see this concept. And of course, the sages have held this for centuries, the idea of a Big Bang. And
it's such a perfect description, really. It's the opposite of being intimidated by science, because if Hashem created everything from nothing, all of a sudden, instantaneously brought forth all of creation, and then during the 6 days departmentalized where everything goes, that is the Big Bang.
Well, you know, the argument these days, Rabbi, is that people say that Torah talks about the why and science talks about the how. But I'm finding, Rabbi, that the more that we read these discoveries, that Torah really does answer both those questions as you get into the science of the Torah.
And not only that, but
one of the most
beautiful thing is that
Yes,
now
sir.
science is asking why.
Yes. So anyway, this I can't remember the gentleman's name, the priest that came up with it, but and this is I'm sorry, this is the fault of too many days in front of playing rock and roll records in a studio. The music is in my head all the time. But anyway, towards the end of his life, Edgar Allan Poe decided to write his magnum opus. Now, it wasn't that big, but it was a slim volume. It was the last thing he published a year before he died. It was called Eureka. And in Eureka, he wanted to show the reading public his own worldview of how things came into being. And I have to read you just a couple of sentences from this amazing treatise. And remember, the theory of the Big Bang is said to have come up and published in the 1930s, I think 33 in fact. So this is what he says, that in its original state, he's talking about the world now. This is from his writing that we just mentioned. From its original state, matter took the form of a perfectly unified, undifferentiated entity, a primordial particle. Under divine impulsion, this particle exploded outward in a flash. Minute atoms of matter were radiated spherically and distributed through space to form the universe of stars. And from this principle and the aim of this rapid emanation of matter was the multiplicity out of unity, diversity out of sameness, and heterogeneity out of homogeneity, complexity out of simplicity, and this diffused state of matter we call abnormal. And this matter has an appetite for unity, And he said this, and he said they're drawn to each other, and he said this appetite for unity is what we call gravity.
You know what?
This was written in
life-changing, what you just read.
Isn't that amazing?
I'm totally floored and shocked because it's such an accurate description of what our sages took place. It's amazing.
Amen.
It's like prophetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Now next week I'm gonna bring. I may read that again, but next week I'm gonna talk about where he got these ideas. It will be, but it'll be tied into the flood of Noah.